So today, man, we're going to be going over the top 5 worst theme teams right now in Madden 24. Now, look, man, if your theme team happens to be on here, look, it's just, it's just EA not giving you team cards, man. I don't got a problem with none of these teams. This is just, these teams don't have really anything. Well, they might have a little something going for them, but for the most part, they really don't have anything going for them. Now, this doesn't mean these teams aren't usable. Some of these teams are usable. You're just going to have maybe a lot of cheats for them. Some of these teams though might literally be unusable. Like the teams like at like number 5 or like 4 or something, you might be able to finesse a little bit, but as we start getting lower and lower, it gets a little nasty. Starting our list off at number 5, we got the Denver Broncos. Now the Denver Broncos on offense, they have, now they're number 5 because out of all these other teams, they're probably the better ones, but they got a couple pieces on offense. You got Joe Flacco, who isn't the greatest, but he's usable, right? You got Terrell Davis, who's one of the best backs that just came out of the game right now. Now receiver wise, you really only got one good receiver. You got Rod Smith, and that's kind of that, because Cortland Sutton, David Moore, they're not going to cut it. But another thing that's really good about them is their tight ends. You got Vernon Davis, Shannon Sharp, and Julius Thomas. So if you really wanted to, you could put some of the tight ends at receiver, or you could run, 2 tight end sets. Now, I'm not taking offensive line into accountability because most theme teams don't really have a very good offensive line. And we're also not going to be talking about promo theme teams. This is just going to be strictly NFL theme teams only. And once again, their defense also has like a couple of pieces. This is why I put the Broncos on here at 5, because I thought they're definitely the best out of all these, trash ass theme teams. They don't really have the greatest safeties. Justin Simmons, I mean, it's for sure that you're not using him. There's no way that's happening. Brian Dawkins is for sure still usable. He's not bad. Bradley Chubb's pretty good. Champ Bailey, stat wise and all that stuff is good. It just, his AP really isn't the greatest. So, that card is kind of Ryan Mitchell and Patrick Surtain. Well, I would say Patrick Surtain's for sure better than I called him Mitchell. Ryan McNeil. Surtain's not really that bad. I mean, you could probably use him in the slot or something like that. It just sucks that a lot of the abilities that this defense get aren't really the best. And Ty Law is actually, probably their best corner in my opinion, just because he gets that 1 AP deep out zone. Broncos just have some pieces. Like, they got a couple good players on offense. You got a couple good players on defense. But for the most part, this team is not very good. Next team on the list is going to be the Arizona Cardinals at number 4. The Cardinals, offensively, they got a couple players, right? You got, Kurt Warner, Kyler Murray. Now, I don't really know what release Kurt Warner gets, but I'm assuming, actually, no, I think he has Gen 2. Well, if they kept it from his last card, he's got Gen 2, so it's not the worst thing in the world. You got Chris Johnson, who is for sure really good. Larry Fitzgerald actually on a Cardinals theme team would be really good. But then after those guys, that's pretty much that. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, not good. Anquan Bolden, not really that good. And then they have no tight ends, so you got one quarterback. Well, I guess you have multiple quarterbacks. I don't really know too much about the Kyler Murray card. I would assume Kurt Warner's probably for sure better than him, but you got a QB, you got a running back, and you got one receiver. Now, the Cardinals defense is really interesting. Like I said, the Broncos, they kind of had pieces a little bit everywhere. That's kind of how the Cardinals are too, but some of their pieces, it's a little, I would say they have a little bit less pieces than the Broncos, right? So your safeties are, I mean, they're terrible. You got Tillman, you got Matthew. And by the way, the Broncos really didn't have anyone to put in the box or the theme team either. I didn't talk about that, like a user, like a linebacker or a safety or something like that. They had no one for the box. The Cardinals are the exact same way. Really, I would say the only good thing the Cardinals have going for them is they have, some decent D linemen. You got Hassan Reddick, Suggs, Joey Porter. I would guess J.J. Watt gets all counts, but J.J. Watt. So I would say that's really the only good thing that this Cardinals defense has, is you got a solid D line, but your secondary, the backers, anyone you're trying to get in the, it's terrible. I mean, you got Night Train Lane, who's really your only good corner, and then the rest of your guys are they're terrible. Because one of the biggest things you want to do when you have a theme team is, I mean, you got to have some type of secondary. Like, literally, you're going to have a cheat for the entire Cardinals secondary. At least the Broncos, there was a couple guys they had. Number 3, we got the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, this is where it's going to start to get really nasty. Like, some of these teams they're really bad, man. Like, they're hideous. The Chargers offense is definitely better than their defense. I'll say that right now in advance, because their defense, when we get to that, there ain't gonna be much to talk about. But for their offense, there is some players they got. They got John Mackey at tight end, who's actually really solid with the theme team. He's actually solid. They got Drew Brees at quarterback, which I don't know what release he has, but Brees will be really solid. I mean, they also got Justin Herbert. I don't really know too much about his card. I would assume Brees has got to be better, but you know, they definitely got a quarterback, right? They got LT at running back. That card is really good. With a theme team, man, that gotta be insane. You got Mike Williams at receiver, not really too bad. And Vincent Jackson's actually not bad. A lot of people probably don't even know about this card, but I think he gets like 95 speed with the theme team. He meets a lot of thresholds for the route running, so he's not bad. So their offense, it's just not bad. It's solid stuff that can work. Keenan Allen, I mean, he's obviously, you know, the card's terrible. You know, they got a solid quarterback. He's nothing crazy. They got a very good running back. Their receiving core is it's mid. I mean, it's just mid. You know what I mean? You know, Mack, he's actually probably, you know, decent, but you know, it's just a very average offense. Now, this defense, though, man, I mean, this is terrible. Like, their best player on defense is the free safety Keenan Allen, and that is actually that's insane. I would honestly have to deem this theme team as probably unusable. I mean, you have one guy and then everything else has to be a cheat. I mean, just look at this, man. I don't have to say anything. Just look at what's on the screen. These teams are only going to keep getting worse and worse, man. Number 2, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think they honestly ever have a good theme team in Madden. It's usually never good, but I mean, this thing is terrible, man. They got no tight ends. Their tight ends are not good. They have pretty much one receiver in Jamar Chase, which they literally just got. So if you just subtract what that card that they just got, I mean, there is nothing here. Another card they just got is the Icky Woods. So they're starting to get a little bit of love. They got Burr quarterback. He's cool, I guess. So the offense is not, it's kind of similar, I guess, the kind of the Cardinals kind of was, except I thought the Cardinals had a better defense. This defense, you know, now the Bengals defense has a couple things, but all in all, it's not a good defense, right? You got the Rattler Snake, which, you know, he's cool, you know, all that stuff, but he's a man coverage corner, you know, so he's only getting man KOs. He's not getting any zone KOs, which, you know, if you run a man scheme, that's cool, but for the most part, there's not that many people that are really running man schemes. And they got 2 solid safeties, Jesse Bates and Jordan Battle, so, you know, those I would say those are probably the strong parts of the defense, those 2 guys, but then after that, man, there's really not much to it. There's really no other good corners. There's really nobody you have to kind of put in the box. Their D-line is not very good. It's a terrible defense. Now, hold up. Before we get to number 1, I just want to throw an honorable mention shit team in there. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars did not make the list because of this offense. This offense is actually disgusting. You got Torrey Holt, Allen Robinson, Calvin Ridley, the Maurice Jones-Drew, Trevor Lawrence, I think it's set feet lead. So they have a very good offense. Now, the reason I'm going to show you why they almost made the list. Their defense is horrible, man. They got one good card, and it's the Jalen Ramsey. Besides that, there is nothing else good on this defense. Their D-line is terrible. They have nobody in the secondary. They have no one to throw in the box. Well, okay, you know what? I'm tripping. They do have Josh Allen. So they got one good corner, and they got one good edge rusher. Besides that, there is nothing else. But this team did not make the list because their offense is pretty nasty. Worst theme team right now in Madden 24, in my opinion, I would have to say is the New Orleans Saints. This team is terrible. You know, they got a couple of different options at quarterback. You got Derek Carr, you got Drew Brees, you know, solid, nothing crazy. They have, you know, the strong point on offense, though, is, you know, tight ends. They got Taysom Hill, you know, Jimmy Graham's all right, but, you know, Taysom Hill's pretty good. They have no receivers. There's no receivers, but they do have Ricky Williams, so, you know, you got a cool tight end, you know, average quarterbacks, and a pretty good running back and rookie. So the offense is not very good. I mean, you got to have some receivers. They don't have one. This might actually be the worst defense probably on the list. I mean, their highest overall defense is a 91. I mean, there's a couple of them, but they're literally a 91. There's nobody for the secondary. They have no pass rushers. They have no one to put in the box. There is nothing you could do with this defense. There is nothing to do with this defense, man. This is terrible. But that is pretty much going to do it for the list, man. Those, in my opinion, are the top 5 worst theme teams right now, Madden 24. You guys let me know if you're actually running one of these theme teams, or if you think another team should be on here, or, you know, something of that sorts. All I gotta say is, man, I just hope you're not running any of the teams that were in the top 3, because the teams that were in the top 3, they're not usable.